Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Akodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 1 Kings, the 21st chapter. And in this chapter, we see a great deal of wickedness, right, or wicked act that is orchestrated by Jezebel, okay, and of course, allowed by Ahab. In any case, this is 1 Kings chapter 21, verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that Naboth, the Jezreelite, had a vineyard which was in Jezreel. So Jezreelite meaning he was an inhabitant of Jezreel. So he had a vineyard which was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria, meaning it was right by Ahab's palace. And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house. And I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it, or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money. So, sell me a vineyard, right? I'll give you a much better one, or I'll just buy it from you. And Naboth said to Ahab, The Lord Yahweh forbid it me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. So this land was an inheritance passed down onto Naboth. Hence, he did not see it suitable to sell this or to give this up to Ahab. And Ahab came into his house heavy and displeased because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him. For he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed and turned away his face and would eat no bread. So he basically became depressed. He wasn't eating, he just laying in bed all depressed and stuff because he couldn't get that vineyard. But Jezebel his wife came to him and said unto him, Why is thy spirit so sad, that thou eatest no bread? And he said unto her, Because I spake to Naboth the Jezreelite, and said unto him, Give me thy vineyard for money, or else, if it please thee, I will give thee another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give thee my vineyard. And Jezebel his wife said unto him, Dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. So you'll see, right, as you start to notice that Jezebel was sort of the battery in the back of Ahab, stirring him up, controlling him, doing these things, right? As you're going to see a prime example here. And to make this clear, this part when she says, Dost thou now govern the kingdom of Israel? You can see here in the NLT, it says, Are you the king of Israel or not? Right? Or in other words, are you not the king of Israel? Like, you act as though you're just some regular dude. Like, don't you realize the power that you have, basically? Jezebel demanded, Get up and eat something, and don't worry about it. I'll get you Naboth's vineyard. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name, and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters on to the elders and to the nobles that were in his city, dwelling in Naboth. Okay, and so number one, she and he obviously Ahab had to have known and not had a problem with it. So Jezebel ends up sending these letters, right? She's by sealing it with the king's seal, it makes it official that okay, this is coming from Ahab, or it has his authorization. All right, and so with that, she sends these letters to the elders, the nobles in the city where Naboth was. And she wrote in the letters, saying, Proclaim a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people, and set two men, sons of Belial. Now, when they talk about sons of Belial, these are typically referred to as like worthless or wicked individuals. Today, they're like these gremlins, these ninjas, right? These degenerate demons that are walking the streets that basically are good for nothing. They don't do anything good or productive with their lives. They're just destructive and a menace to society. That's an example of a son of Belial, right? And in fact, we can even look into this word Belial. Bala Ya'il, and it says here worthless, right? Literally good for nothing, unprofitable, base fellow, wicked, destruction. So there you go. So so basically set up these two people, right? These two wicked individuals before him. Now you notice why sons of Belial? Because they would do it. They would do it. No righteous man would accept hire to go and bear false witness against his neighbor to have them put to death. Because what they were bearing false witness, as we're about to read, against Naboth for was a high penalty. Okay? So it says here, sons of Belial, before him I bear witness against him. Oh, before him to bear witness against him, saying, thou didst blaspheme God and the king, and then carry him out and stone him that he may die. So these wicked men were to basically lie on Naboth, right, and bear witness and say, hey, we basically like witnessed or heard this guy disrespect, the Lord, right, blaspheme the Lord and the king, and that's worthy enough. At this point, the plan would be that the elders and the nobles would deem that worthy enough of death, that they would then put him to death. And that was the plan that Jezebel wrote for them to execute. Now, by proclaiming a fast, there are a couple of reasons for that, right? But one could be maybe there's this based on at least the cover that they're going with, there's this suspicion of like something bad has happened, and in order to avoid some heavy penalty or judgment from the Lord upon the city, they had to proclaim this fast. And so they set Naboth in this high position here, and it just so happens to be that they find out at that fast that, oh, Naboth ended up blaspheming the Lord and the king. So now they gotta put evil out of Israel by taking him out. Just an example of like a possible sort of mindset or plan that they could have conjured up here to execute this task that Jezebel had sent letters on to them to do. Verse 11, and the men of his city, even the elders and the nobles, who were the inhabitants of his city, did as Jezebel had sent on to them, and as it was written in the letters which she had sent on to them. So they were wicked themselves. Knowing what they were doing was wrong, they still did it. They proclaimed a fast and set Naboth on high among the people. And there came in two men, and on high, when you look at it, it goes into like at the head of the people. So in like a good position, like a head position. And there's some references that say, going back to the book of Josephus, that he might have been from a noble family, right? Which is why it would be fitting to do something like that. And it would also explain that inheritance of that nice vineyard. Anyway, verse 13, and there came two men, children of Belial, and sat before him, and the men of Belial witnessed against him, even against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, Naboth did blaspheme God and the king. Then they carried him forth out of the city, and stoned him with stones that he died. So you can imagine, they proclaim this fast. These two men come up, and then, obviously these people are in on the plan. So they're like, oh, what's going on? These guys are saying that, they're saying that they heard Naboth, yada yada. So they put him up there, openly before everybody to testify against him. Basically, what did you guys say you heard? What is this? And then they, before everybody, they say, oh yeah, we heard, Naboth, he said this, he said that, or whatever it is their plan was. And then it's like, oh, my, what? Oh, no, hell no. We gotta do something about that. And then they basically put him to death. Now, you could say they put an innocent man to death. But I don't, the scriptures don't give us an insight into what kind of individual Naboth was. However, this was a unjustified, basically murder, right? So that's the evil in this act over here, right? It's basically murder because, even if Naboth was like a stingy, maybe he was similar to what's that other guy's name? The Nabal, right? Even if he was like a Nabal, right? The husband of Abigail, who and David ended up marrying later after Nabal died. Even if he was like a Nabal, having set him up in this way to put him to death would still not be justified, because when you go into the scriptures, well, that's considered murder. That's premeditating. And when you go into the scriptures, there are laws with punishment onto death, and that is basically like in very niche cases are you actually justified in putting somebody to death. Okay, so in this case, this would not be justified even if Naboth wasn't the most righteous man on the planet. What they ended up doing in executing this judgment was wicked. So they ended up putting him to death. Then they sent to Jezebel, saying, Naboth is stoned and is dead. And it came to pass, when Jezebel heard that Naboth was stoned and was dead, that Jezebel said to Ahab, Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, which he refused to give thee for money. For Naboth is not alive, but dead. So now that he's dead, yeah, you're good. Go ahead. You all set. Go get that vineyard. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, that Ahab rose up to go down to the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite to take possession of it. And that's what lets you know that he had to have known or be in on it, because if not, and Ahab was innocent, or he was this truly a righteous individual, then he would have inquired, wait, but I just asked him and he said no, all of a sudden he's dead now, what did you do? Verse 17, and the word of the Lord Yahweh came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, Arise, go down to meet Ahab king of Israel, which is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, whither he is gone down to possess it. So he's going to go over there to take Naboth's vineyard, his wicked ass. And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Hast thou killed and also taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, In the place where dogs licked the blood of Naboth, shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine. Right? So remember, they took him and they stoned him. Obviously, you're getting stoned, they're hanging, you're gonna bleed. And even if they took his body from there and buried it or did something with it, his blood would still be splattered all over the place, right? And that's where, as it talks about, the dogs lick the blood. So that's the judgment being pronounced, that will be pronounced against Ahab here. And Ahab said to Elijah, Hast thou found me, O mine enemy? And he answered, I have found thee, because thou hast sold thyself to work evil in the sight of the Lord. Now, when you look at most of the translations and, around this verse, majority of them are like, they sort of give the impression of finding being, actually like literally locating this individual, which it could be, but I think it also makes sense when you look into the word found. One of them is to find out, right? And I think it makes sense here for Ahab to be referring to whether Elijah had found out what he had done, okay, or what he was in on along with Jezebel, in which Elijah then confirms, yes, and then continues, right, because you sold yourself to work evil in the sight of the Lord. Verse 21, Behold, I will bring evil upon thee, and will take away thy posterity, and will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the walls, so all his male descendants, and the posterity means his descendants, and him that is shut up and left in Israel, right? So all those that are in that land, in that region, they're going to be cut off. They're going to be destroyed. And will make thine house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahijah, for the provocation wherewith thou hast provoked me to anger, and made Israel to sin. Okay, so just like Jeroboam and just like Baasha, the Lord pronounced that he would cut off all that pisseth against the wall, and by various means he did, right? He would have somebody who comes up into power next be possibly like a usurper that ends up coming up and destroying the lineage or the house of said individual. And of Jezebel also spake the Lord Yahweh, saying, the dogs shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. Him that dieth of Ahab in the city, the dogs shall eat, and him that dieth in the field shall the fowls of the air eat. So basically, they're not going to get a proper burial. Because if you die and they wrap your body and they bury you, then there's no room for dogs or fowls like vultures or whatever else to come and eat your corpse. But there was none like unto Ahab, which did sell himself to work wickedness in the sight of the Lord Yahweh, whom Jezebel his wife stirred up. See? So it is Ahab was surely a most wicked individual. And as you can see, it says Jezebel stirred him up. So she was the one putting batteries in his back, you know. And he did very abominably in following idols, according to all things, as did the Amorites, whom the Lord Yahweh cast out before the children of Israel. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard those words, that he rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his flesh, and fasted, and lay in sackcloth, and went softly. So he basically humbled himself, you know, and mourned upon hearing that. And the word of the Lord Yahweh came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, seest thou now how Ahab humbleth himself before me? Because he humbleth himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his days, but in his son's days will I bring the evil upon his house. And that also goes to show you the mercy of the Lord, right? You know, to where with all the wickedness Ahab did, you know, he still had mercy upon Ahab, humbling himself to extend or you know, prolong that judgment just a little bit until, you know, it came upon the son of Ahab. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the book of 1 Kings, the 21st chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Ruach HaKodesh. Until next time, Shalom.